as far as the transition going through and the journey that I've gone through as a 29-year-old man, but like I said, as a young man, it's he's shown me that. Well, I guess I thought being a man was catered to my talents. Through the game of basketball, I thought that through ego, pride, and all the perks that come from the game of basketball, I thought that's what you know is what being a man is all about. All the praise and the admiration and the glory that you get from doing these amazing athletic things, is what builds you up, to make you feel good about yourself. But that's when, like I said, when I was younger, I thought that. But now, and like I said, in my adult days now, I realize that it's the times where you're beaten, battered, and broken, where you realize, your true, where you realize what you're truly capable of, where your true conduct and character is, and like I said, integrity. When it's funny, like me and Caleb are going back and forth on this word. Obviously the definition, doing what is right when no one is looking, and it's like, man, God is always looking. He's always there. Even though, like I said, the fleshly eyes aren't there, but the spiritual eyes are always on you, and that was something that's always wrecked me. And like I said, I guess to go into a little bit of my bio, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. So my foundation was always in the church. But it was always superficial, I felt, because it was just something, parents wake you up on Sunday, put your church clothes on. I don't want to wear these clothes. When you go to church, you see your buddies running around and you want to run with them. It's like, listening to the pastor, that's what my parents do. I guess I'll worry about getting saved when I'm older. But one thing I realized, the devil doesn't care how old you are. There's no age limit when it comes to the spirit. And like I said, my foundation has always been in the church. But like I said, as an adult male now, I think that the Lord has really excelled me in my spiritual relationship, and I'm thankful for the successes on and off the basketball court. I'm also thankful for the failures and the mistakes as well, because without those, I wouldn't be standing right here today. And it's people like men in the church that have been very good influences on me, because I've seen both spectrums, good teachers, false teachers, and bad and good teachers. I guess the influences that, well, I've had teachers that have influenced my flesh, that made me, actually turn my back on God, do things that are, that are very carnal and promiscuous, and I always felt that when I would do those things, when I would act out in flesh, it's like, this isn't me. This is something that isn't, I always grew up thinking that I was different, when kids get teased and stuff like that. Internally I always felt that I was different, and I wasn't supposed to be like everyone else. I wasn't supposed to be in the crowd and do what all the other kids and all my teammates or so on and so forth were doing. And it was all right to allow the Lord to separate me, and build me up in the way that he thought that, well, I guess not thought, I guess build me up in the way that build me up to be the man that he created me to be, and one of those things was I had to realize that I'm not in control, and it's, like I said, where it's those times where I was on my knees and flat on my face, and in that surrendering, position, where, a lot of the breakthrough and the blessing had come from. And I'm very thankful for the time that I spent at Bonaventure, and most importantly, the time with the Jamestown Jackals, because it was through that, it was very humbling. When going to Bonaventure, everyone praises you for being a Bonnie and all that stuff. And like I said, I had an amazing career at Bonaventure. And, obviously every young athlete's admiration is to go pro, and, do, what you sought out to as an individual, to represent your family and to provide financially for your family and so on and so forth, and I felt that I could do bad all by myself. But the Lord nipped that in the bud real quick and let me realize that, without him, Yeah. Mm. Without him, there is no way. I know it's cliche as it sounds. You know, and it's very thankful. I'm thankful for the opportunity the Lord has given me the game of basketball back. You know, through playing with the Jackals and realizing the impact that we have on this community, and I realized the impact that the community on me. You know, through the people that I've met, the connections that I've made. You know, and it's been an amazing run. You know, and it's nice that to be able to share with men of God, shepherds, husbands, sons, and grandfathers, and to where like it's all hit me at once. Oh, man. All glory goes to him. All thanks and praise go to him. And not to monologue too long, it's like sometimes I forget those, I'm even thankful for the times that I couldn't get on my knees and pray. That he still shows me grace and forgiveness. To continue to be a role model not only to my siblings, but allowing people in this community to allow me to be a role model. And it's an honor and a blessing to continue to share, continue to play, and one of the things I think me and Dupree were talking about it a couple of days ago is that, it's my talent on the basketball court that I create my altar for God. I use my talent as an act of worship. Like I said before, I always thought my talent had everything to do with me, but how wrong I was. To actually have the opportunity to go out there and play injury-free and express myself in the fullness of Christ is nothing better. So thank you guys for having us, allowing me to share, and continue
So kind of just to tell you guys how I got here, and I'm gonna go back to where I started. And one thing that I actually love is talking to men, because obviously I'm a man, it means a lot to me. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for three men who God placed in my path as I was growing up. So she said I'm from Indiana. I was actually born in Gary, Indiana. If you don't know where that area is, it's kind of like 20 minutes to the east of Chicago. Not a very happy, good area. So, a lot of crime out there, a lot of drugs and stuff growing up. And as I was born, it was pretty much all I had was my mom and my grandmother. My father never really played a role in my life. And even being little, like around 2 or 3, just had something in my heart that just kind of just made me feel like there was supposed to be a man around. But I didn't see one. Like I would go to church, at I was home and around the rest of my family, I didn't have a man around. So as a 3-year-old, I turned into that. I became the man of the house. I have an older brother, he's 2 years older than me. I even didn't see a father figure or somebody I could look up at him, so I literally just tried to become a man myself. Mom couldn't teach me how to be one, I said, I'll just learn it on my own. So I was born in Gary, Indiana. I stayed there till I was about 6. Mom moved me to Indianapolis. After that, some of my family moved down there as well, along with my grandmother. So I still just had my mom and grandmother, pretty much that was it. Started going through middle school, had all these kids and friends. They had their fathers around. They coming up to school, their dads are dropping them off. Me being who I am, a little bitter, a little jealous. So I just kind of just took myself and became in a little circle. I just didn't reach out much, didn't talk much, because I was kind of unhappy about the situation I was in. Got through middle school, and then my first year of high school, my mom actually moved me away from Indianapolis. We moved about an hour away to a little town called Pendleton. So just to kind of put in perspective what Pendleton looks like. So Gary, Indiana is predominantly probably about 90% African American. When I moved to Pendleton, it was about 0.9% African American. I literally walked to high school looking for another black person. Teacher, man, girl, to pencil, something that just kind of resembled what I was used to. And I couldn't find it. And so that even more pulled me into this little circle I had. I was very, very quiet. If for the people who kind of know me now, I'm outgoing, I'm a very just social person. Wasn't like this growing up. And so when I found myself being in this very, very small circle, God pushed the first man, role model into my life. And so I was walking through the halls one day, going from class to class, and this teacher stops me. He's like, hey, I've seen you walking around here before, but I've never actually gotten to talk to you. And I was like, yeah, nobody actually has. And so he's like, hey, well, my name is Mr. Bates. I'm actually one of the freshman basketball coaches here. And I was like, oh. He's like, have you ever played basketball? I told him no, because honestly, up to this point in time, I tell you, I stayed to myself, I really didn't play any sports. He was like, well, I kind of want you to come out, play on the team, just kind of get to know some more people in school. He's like, because you don't seem like you know anybody here. So I said, that's fine, I'll do that. So I talked to my mom about it. She was excited that I was actually doing something. So I went out and I joined the basketball team. I went to all the workouts and things like that, went to tryouts and made it. And it actually started to be one of the biggest blessings and building blocks for me, because that was the first time I had a man in my life teaching me something that I didn't know. And so from being just a young kid and running into Coach Bates, he literally became the first father figure I ever had, and I was 14 years old. Even to this day, I stay in contact with him because he's been that amazing to me. So I had him through high school. I stayed there my freshman year, sophomore year, my junior year. And then for my senior year, my mom decided to move again, even farther away from my family and farther away from the coach and everything that I had just built such a bond with. So I moved away, went to a different school for my senior year, graduated, went on to college. Still at this point in time at home, all I had was my mother, and then I had my grandmother. I was now disconnected away from Coach Bates, really didn't talk to him that much back then, but I kind of had now the steps I needed to become the man. And went off to college, and then as I went to college, my mom reconnected with a friend of hers that they went to high school together. He just so happened to be a pastor. This is the second role model God pushed in my path and decided that that's what I needed at that point in time. So now I'm 19 years old. I'm living 3 hours from home. I'm in Evansville, Indiana now, so I went from Gary's at the top, Indianapolis in the middle, Evansville all the way at the bottom. So I'm down here, and then I'm staying connected with my mom, and I'm out in college. Ooh, calm that down. I'm out in college. The majority of people have been in college before. You know, that's a completely different animal than just being at home. So now I'm getting so many different viewpoints on life from different people growing up. And this is the first time from me being in my circle to where I was kind of expanded, people looked at me different. Because from the building blocks Coach Bates gave me, I actually started to become a pretty good basketball player. So now I'm at school and people are looking at me as a role model. And it took me about probably like a year to even realize that people looked up to me. I was always used to being really quiet, being to myself, not being looked at all. So now I have people below me looking up at me, and it literally threw me like haywire. I had no idea how to act. So what I did, took a trip home, and I went to this, he's now my stepfather. I went to Pops and I was like, hey, I got a lot I'm dealing with, and I need somebody to talk to. I've never had guidance. I don't know how to go about these things. I need somebody. And without even thinking, he came into action, stepped up, and became exactly who I needed him to be. This man taught me how to be a man every single day. And how to do it the Christian way. Not how to do it, how the guys in college out partying, thinking, hey man, I'm doing whatever I want, I'm a man. No, he taught me exactly what being a man is about. And that's why I get real excited, I get real adamant about talking to men. Because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for men. I've had my mom 29 years of my life. She could not teach me one thing that a man has taught me about being a man. So, Pops kind of corralled me, put me together, and he started shaving off all the false things that the world taught me that a man was. And he started implanting in me all the seeds and things that God said a man needs to be. So I was done at college, got into a couple little worldly, foolish things, and I needed a way out. Had a talk with Pops. I had moved back to Indianapolis, and now we're looking at about 2014, and I moved away to Florida. I did a lot of moving. So I moved by myself, completely away from the entire family, and one of my friends from college had moved down there, and I went down there with him. And I was down in Florida for a week, and God, out of nowhere, pushed this third gentleman into my life. I was working for a storage company. This guy comes in, he wants to just move some things around. I'm like, fantastic, I want to help him out. And I always had a chain I wore that had a cross on it. He's like, man, I see that. He said, are you a believer? Do you believe in God? I said, absolutely, every single day. He said, well, I'm actually a pastor as well. He said, I'm taking over my father's church. He was Hispanic. He said, my father has been preaching his church for 15 years. It's all Hispanic. In a month, we're transitioning over. We're going to have an English service. And I said, okay. He said, I want you to come out. We're reconstructing the church. I just want you to see it. And if you want to come out when we open up, you can do that. So I did that, went out, saw the church and everything, and met this guy. He was probably, at the time I'm like 25, he was like just in his early 30s. And so we kind of about the same age. He connected with me a lot because he liked basketball. And so we spent some time before their opening service. We played basketball a lot. We'd go to lunch. And then this was actually another guy who obviously got me closer to God. Now, growing up the entire time I've been in church, so my grandmother took me in, and when I was back home with Pops, he'd take me to church, things like that. But I never actually got to be in church. Pops was a pastor. He's been a pastor now about 29 years. So anytime he was at church, and I was in church, I wasn't in church. He was the pastor. I was always on the side doing everything that he needed done. All the little side work, I wasn't able to really just connect. And so when I was in Florida, I met this pastor. I got a different view of church. I actually got to connect and understand what actually hearing the word was, being in these sermons, actually listening. And it even became more evident to me because the entire church adopted me because I didn't have any family in Florida. And becoming a man in front of them put more confidence and pride in my heart about what men are. And so when I moved home, I stayed in Florida for about a year. I moved back home, and I had an entire different outlook on everything now. And one thing that I definitely wanted to share with you is kind of like part of my testimony, and it's actually a challenge I always issue to all men, is to be more of a man. Not just for you, but for everybody that's around you. Because there's a lot of people who grow up the way I did who don't have men step up in their life, and they end up at a completely different path than where I'm at right now. And so I always that's why I get so adamant about talking to men, because I want to make more warriors for God, that I can have more men out doing the things that the men who stepped up in my life are doing. Because there's always a battle going on. And we have men of Christ, but outside of this church, there are more men of the world who are teaching men how not to be men. And we need more men of Christ to teach men how to actually be men. Amen. Amen. And so as I share my testimony, my challenge to you is, when you step outside of this room, when you're not around these men of Christ, I swear I would not be who I was if I didn't meet him. We need more impact like that, and we can change a lot more in this world. I'm just trying to cut this short before I start getting emotional. But I just want to thank you so much for adopting me. When we're at games, when games are over, we're always signing autographs and things like that. Normally, it's always an adult that adopts a kid. The kids of this community have adopted me, and it literally forces me to be more of a man, because I know who's looking at me. So I want everybody in here to be more